Chapter 14 of Ant Ventures. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Anthony Viscardi. Ant Ventures by Blanche Elizabeth Wade. A Venture in Questions. The afternoon was at its hottest when Anthony Ant next stopped for a rest. There was such a fine mossy stone in the shadow of a thick clump of weeds that it made the very place to camp out for a while. He took off his new hat and placed it carefully where no field mouse can get it. He was a pretty wise ant now, he thought, for he had learned a few things in his tramp, and one was that field mice and hats are not to be trusted together if you ever want to see the hats again. Then he tasted some of the dried berry and took a little nip at the worm he had caught in the tree, and found his sandwiches were nearly gone. There would be about enough to last him for his supper, and then he would have to get on as well as he could without sandwiches. His cheese was nearly gone, too. What a good time they had had at that Wild Rose tea house, they three. He and the small spider, size 2, and the ladybug had been such very good friends. "Hello," said a voice suddenly. "What on earth are you doing there eating such nice things all alone?" Anthony Ant was never more surprised in his life. There sat a firefly. You would not have guessed it to look at him, for there was not a bit of fire showing anywhere about him. The ant knew him as a firefly, though, because his mother had told him all about fireflies when he was a little boy. "It's all I've got to eat," said the ant in answer to the firefly's question, "but I'll give you a taste of anything you want just the same." "You speak as though there wasn't any food to be had in the world," said the firefly. "Your voice sounded so solemn." "Well, if you hadn't any food except what was in your lunch basket, I guess your voice would sound solemn too," replied the ant. "It would not," declared the firefly very firmly. "Why should it? When there is plenty of food in the world. Just because your lunch basket is empty at times is no reason for feeling solemn. If there was a famine, that would be different, but there is food all about you." "Yes, but you have to go catch it," the ant whined. "Well, why not?" asked the firefly. Anthony Ant was about to say it was too hard work to go catch your food all the time, when he suddenly thought maybe the firefly would call him a goobly chook if he did not look out. So he kept still. "What's the matter?" asked the firefly. "Don't you know how to catch food?" "Mercy, yes," cried Anthony. "Look in my basket. I caught that." And he pointed with one of his feelers to the little green worm. "Let's see," demanded the firefly, and he peeked into the basket. "Have a piece," said Anthony Ant. "You'll find it very fine and tender and juicy." "No, thanks," replied the firefly, "but I'll taste this fancy pink cake if you want me to." "Do," said Anthony. "Take the whole of it." "Oh," said the firefly as he took the cake, "where have I seen and tasted such cakes before? Oh, I know. You must have been to the Wild Rose tea house." "Yes," said Anthony. "That is where all but the dried berry and the worm came from. Have you been there?" "Often," answered the firefly. "I always stop there on my way home from a band concert at night for a little cake or two and a cup of wild rose berry coffee. They make a specialty of that coffee there, and there is nothing like it to rest a person after an evening's flitting. I flitted nearly every evening of June and pretty nearly all of July without missing a night, lighting up things with my lantern. But now I go only occasionally, for the season for flitting is nearly over for us, and we are spending our time on vacations a bit for a rest and from our hard season. This cake is delicious, and is my favorite sort. You were wise to pick out this kind of cake. It is the best that they make there." "I didn't pick it out," said the ant, and told how his friends had taken him there, and also all about the way he had left home. "Maybe you were sick," suggested the firefly, who seemed really kind-hearted and not one who would lecture him for not working. "You know that work is such an old sort of thing, that it was invented when the world was made, and everybody works at something or another always, whether it is hard work or more the kind of work one would rather do. So anyone who suddenly, like you, does not want to work, nor even help bring in the family's food, must be sick. Not sick enough to go to bed, probably, nor to take medicine out of a bottle, perhaps, but just sick enough so that if he does not have a change, he may be sick in bed. Anyhow, I'd keep at Dr. Beetlebug's prescription long enough to find out how it works, for even prescriptions have to work, you see." And he laughed a cheerful laugh at the joke he had made. "How can I tell when the prescription has worked enough?" asked Anthony, for here was someone worth meeting. He seemed to know all about things. "Well," said the Firefly, "do you feel that if you were at home now, this very minute, you would be glad to work hard all day as the others do?" "No," cried the Ant. "And are you lonesome for your mother and the others in the family?" "Well, yes," said Anthony Ant slowly. "It would be nice to see them, but I do not have to cry yet because I can't see them." "How about nights?" asked the Firefly. "Do you wake up in the night and feel scared and wish your mother was there and all that sort of thing?" "Well, I'm not so scared since I had the pass, you see, though I do sometimes wish I was where Mother could talk to me." "I don't think you're ready to give up your trip yet," declared the Firefly. "But the way to know is to ask yourself all those questions every day. Then when the time comes that you think there is nothing finer than a good, long, honest, hard day's work, and you are so lonesome you'd give anything you had to see Mother, and the lump in your throat, which sometimes gets too big to keep you from choking out loud almost, really does make you choke out loud, then you may know that the doctor's prescription has worked enough and you are cured and can go home and live happily ever after, just as fairies do in stories." "I've had lumps in my throat several times," Anthony Ant told the Firefly, "but I've swallowed them. And it did seem sort of nice to carry out earth again when I was working for the grasshopper. But I might not like to carry earth all day as I used to, and I'm sure I'm not crazy about hunting even my own next meal." "Oh, then don't think of giving up the cure yet," said the Firefly. "If you give up cures too soon, you often become worse than before you tried them." "Oh, thank you," cried Anthony Ant. "Now suppose I would have all those feelings before I got all the way around the world. Shall I keep on or go home at once?" "You won't need my answer on that question," said the Firefly, "for you will just know. And when anyone just knows, he never has to be told. You may be sure you will do the right thing without the advice of anyone. Thank you for the cake, especially since you soon will have to do a little work to fill your lunch basket again. I hope we meet again sometime. I want to know how this cure business comes out. Goodbye." And off he sailed through the warm air. End of chapter 14.